Hey everyone, welcome to the VR CEO podcast, sponsored by the amazing VR conferencing and education tool, Roomy. Woohoo! Why me when you can Roomy? Get it? Roomy? Pretty awesome. Good stuff. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Awesome. Hey Tipitat, welcome.
Cool. Hey Matt, thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Really happy to have you here. Do quick intros. We have Eric Parks is somewhere around here. He's running the podcast with me.
Cool.
Hey.
And yeah, and Eric will kind of chime in and load things up as we need. And then if you don't know who Tipitat is, you're in the VR industry, you're not paying attention, so you should just leave the VR industry. Or
No.
Pay attention now. So thanks for joining, Tipitat. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Start from anywhere you want and to your journey to today.
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Tipitat Chennavasin, co-founder, general partner of the Venture Reality Fund. Started the Venture Reality Fund almost a little over 3 years ago with my partner Marco. We are a $50 million fund focused on early-stage AR, VR investments. We've done about 30 deals so far, half consumer, half enterprise. Some of our most well-known investments in the portfolio are companies in the gaming sector. So Omni Labs, which is a job simulator, Against Gravity, that Rec Room, and then Beacons that does Beat Saber. But of course, we've also done lots of healthcare, lots of training, a lot of B2B as well. They just aren't as well known yet, but will be soon. So what else can I say? I mean, the interesting about me is that I actually didn't start my journey in investing as a finance business person. I actually came to interactive media first by being a UX artist, general 3D artist, and then eventually kind of prototype programmer, scripter, then eventually CEO of my own mobile games company, founder CEO of my own mobile game company. That failed, but really around that same time when it was struggling, I backed the Oculus on Kickstarter and was just blown away. And it was the rough DK1. I was realized that VR was finally going to happen. Consumer VR was a possibility. And then we got the DK2. I realized that VR was even better than I imagined. I built a simple demo with friends of mine, accidentally cured my real-life fear of heights, realized that VR was more than just games. It was one of the most profound technologies that I'd ever experienced. Wanted to do something more significant, so moved from the content creation side to more of the investing advising side. And that's pretty much the long and short of it.
So you cured your real-life fear of heights with VR?
Yep.
Dude, that's so cool. How did you do that?
So I created, I wasn't trying to do this. It's something totally accidental. But, when we're very early on in the crazy DK demo days where people are just making crazy stuff, right? I was just okay, what would I want to do? If I go anywhere, where would I want to go? And, I love the movie The Matrix, and you're talking VR. I feel like The Matrix is the best realization of what the potential of VR could be. So I was like, okay, I want to try to create an interactive movie experience where you are watching Neo, you are Neo, and you get to do the things. It's like when you fall asleep, how do you think about the movie? You star in the movie. You are in the movie. So how can I make VR kind of realize to that? And so with my friends Eric Dale and John Dadley, we created certain scenes from the movies that I thought would be very fun to experience in VR. And one of the scenes was the jump program, because heights is so cool and powerful in VR scale. And so the idea of you jump, you're on the balcony, or you're in the construct, then you get sent to the balcony or the rooftop. You meet Morpheus. He explains to you to read your mind, and he does the jump. So then this was back before there were motion controllers. So you have the little controller. So you press on the controller, you start running, and then you press the button to jump. And then if you can make the jump, you start making a jump, but it actually goes where you look. So when you look down, because everyone's kind of curious, they look down, that makes you automatically fall 40 stories and then bounce off the ground like in the movie.
That's awesome.
So in the process of doing that jump program, and again, I was just trying to make something fun. I wasn't trying to make something scary, or I wasn't trying to cure myself, but in the jump enough times, that immersive training I think it was actually the fact that I survived the jump. I think that's what made me kind of conquer a lot of my fear of heights. And I'm not 100%. Like I still get scared if it's like a wet, windy bridge, and it's but where I was from where I am now from where I was before, it was like night and day. Like I used to so bad with heights that I would actually look away in a glass elevator. Like I would look at the door because I couldn't look outside. And now I'm totally comfortable in a lot of these situations that before were like,
Right on, man.
That's wild. That's so
isn't
cool.
that crazy? It's like a legitimate healthcare use case, actually.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And that was the thing that amazed me, where it was like, even on the DK2 was, not the highest resolution, and it was just a bunch of people in spare time goofing around. Like, if it could have that profound impact, people on their nights and weekends, imagine what millions of developers can do for billions of people. So that was to me the idea of like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I tell you what, that DK1 and DK2, boy, those were rough, brother.
Yeah. No,
Tough
it's funny though. Like, I mean, if you think about it, though, like where the DK1 was, that was especially remote. But when you got the DK2, I feel like that was like when people started feeling, additional tracking at 6th off. Like, wow, that was my real
better.
aha moment. It was such a huge jump from going DK1 to DK2. Like I can imagine people being like, okay, I know about VR when they see the DK1, but then when they see the DK2, or better yet, when they saw the Vive and they had the full hand input, it's like it was hard to then be like, oh yeah, no, this V thing is just a fad, or oh, this is just like a TV. Like no. Once you get 6-stop tracking heads and hands, you start realizing that this is something profoundly different.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way on that. I mean, the interesting thing is a 3D TV. When you just mentioned 3D television, I was hearing a lot of those, analogies back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? This is nothing like that, man. This is actually going somewhere useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you still have those old dev kits?
Yeah, I still have a bunch of them, actually. What was funny was like the DK2 had like a couple of them. I had the one I originally used, but then I actually bought a couple extra and I gave out to a couple people, but then I had a couple and then once CV1 was announced, it's just like, what am I going to do with these? So they're now in my closet. Although I no longer have my DK1. I don't know where that one was, which was kind of sad.
Oh, man. That's going to be, just wait 20 years, man. Everyone's going to want to be in a DK1. I want to be so retro, man. I want my DK. Where's my DK1? Isn't this a DK1? I thought this looks exactly like a DK1 right here, right? And this one?
No. That's the magic.
I know.
That's the ML one.
I'm just giving you a hard time. So I was like, the DK1 came with a respirator. That's how prototype it was.
Yeah. Honestly, I have tried products that do the smell, and it was awful using a respirator type device. It was awful.
Oh, no.
I don't want to throw the company under the bus, so I won't name their name, but it was gross. It was not just smell. It also tried to do humidity, and it was just gross.
Oh, Jesus. No, thank you, man. I've been working out a lot in my Oculus Go. And I'm like, you know what? I got the smell and the humidity down. I don't need that. I'm good.
Yeah. I saw that you were working out in the Go. That's impressive, man. I can't get in the Go very long.
It's tough. It looks ridiculous in VR. Like I work out and I record it in Roomy, and I just look like I'm eating my chest. It looks stupid, but it's fun. Trying to just like mess around.
What are you actually doing in the headset while you're working out? Are you just watching video, or what are you doing?
It depends. So like if I'm doing, honestly, man, we have a YouTube widget. Sometimes I'll be watching like, workout videos. So if I'm doing a burpee, I'll just like kind of repeat what they're doing. Or I'll actually, you know what I've been doing lately? There's this band I found recently called Brass Against. Man, awesome. Just crazy. They do like Tool, Rage Against the Machine covers, old like Aussie covers. Just awesome band, but with like a huge brass section. And crazy talented singer. Just fun. Yeah, so I've been watching them a lot working out. It's cool. They make the time go by fast.
Yeah, no, I actually work out in Beat Saber, and then sometimes I stream my workouts as off hours, so people can ask me questions while I'm working out. And it's really tough. It's tough because when they ask me questions, it's not audio, right? I see a little dialogue pop up, and I have to read that while I'm reading the notes. So I'm like, just thinking, and someone will ask me a question, I'll read it, then I'll try to answer while I'm like huffing and puffing. It's pretty embarrassing, but it's pretty fun. It makes the workout more engaging because it's like, oh, an hour flies by fast when you're talking to people, right?
Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt. I'm telling you. Yeah, it's crazy. Like working out in VR will become a thing. I don't know how, quite frankly, trying to figure, but legitimately, Beat Saber, that is a legitimate calorie burner in VR.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
There's
crazy.
some,
People lost over 100 pounds playing Saber. And you're
yeah,
just like, wow. But it's
that's,
crazy, too. When I read the stories about the people, they're like, yeah, we play 3 to 4 hours every day. And I'm like, wow.
oh,
That's
man.
amazing.
Dude, those HMDs must just be disgusting. I mean, you're gonna get pink eye putting that thing on. Like, don't share those
Yeah.
HMDs.
Yeah, but worth it, man. It's transforming people's lives. It's saving their lives, right? That's amazing.
Amen, brother. Amen to that. Yeah, I think it's great. It's, you know what? Here's what's cool about it. It's experiential, right? Like, it's not like I'm, sitting with a can of Mountain Dew and a bag of chips playing Call of Duty for 12 straight hours, right? Which I have done,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're up, you're moving, and it's fun. Beat Saber's a blast.
Yeah. Unbelievable how good that game is.
Beat Saber, like, do you know how many downloads they have now? It's through the roof, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I would definitely say it's top VR game right now. And what I love about it, too, was this was a game that came from, a small team in the Czech Republic that no one had really known of. And, it's gone on to be the most important game in VR.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
And they did it with no funding. They bootstrapped themselves. They had no special connections. It was just boom. Like, to me, as an investor, that's what I look for the most. I feel like the hypothesis of new platform is when small teams, like large teams, no longer have unfair advantage. Supercell and these others can't just dominate the charts and outspend you on marketing. And so now Little Voice can get results.
Totally, yeah. Like that's truly disruptive.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is that they're like, you know what? I hear this all the time. Oh, I want to start a company. How do I do it? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, just do it. Like, what's the problem? And these guys prove that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually brings me to something I wanted to just jump right into, actually, which is you posted this rant, which I love. Sure. I love this thing on Twitter the other day, and I hear this a lot. I know you do too. People are like, "Look, VR is dead. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't make sense." And you got to be just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, and typically I don't respond to a lot of that, but there was this one rant from an HCI researcher set up the same way, so I kind of parody his formatting. But yeah, he cites different old academic research papers, and he was like, I don't believe in the current state of VR and AR for these reasons. And, at first glance, you're like, okay, wow, he cites all this research, and you're like, okay, he's PhD, seems like he's what he's talking about. And when you really dig in, and you're like, okay, VR causes motion sickness for the majority of people. You look at the research, it was done with a study on the DK2. And you're like, that's not the current state of VR, my friend. And then if you look at these academic research papers, too, I mean, most of them are very old. And the DK2 is like the newest study. Most of the studies cited were from the 80s or 90s, and a lot of them, too, were on relatively small sample sizes, right? Like 50 to 100 people tops, right? You're not now we have 3 years of data against millions of people. And so I'm not going to discount, academic research and say, hey, no, it's not valuable. It's definitely valuable. But now we actually have real in-world data that we should be looking at and comparing. And, when I hear people say VR is dead, I mean, I think part of it, too, is like, a lot of people don't have the access to data that I have or have been following the data like I have. They just get this cursory glance or, they don't really see and they just pick up some of the other threads. It's like, okay, well, if that's where you're coming from, let me give you the information I'm seeing. And, I would love to have people like, okay, well, maybe Tipitat, you're either reading this data wrong or, hey, maybe there's other data here that disputes your data. Like, let's talk about that. And let's make this an informed conversation and less of a hype kind of, blah, blah. Yeah.
Well, I'm with you, man. I feel you all the way. So, one of the things that I'm with you, look, academic research, very important, obviously. But what's missing, and I've read these reports, and I get hot under the collar when I read these things, but I walk away with two things almost always. Actually, I've never not walked away with any of these two things. I would love to. And number one is this: the research seems to be the author trying to push a narrative. For some reason, they're pushing some narrative that benefits them. It feels like that. The other thing is, never have I read something like, oh, and we interviewed Tipitat Chennavasin, co-founder of the VR. Like, you never read that stuff in those studies. It's like, how come you're not talking to the experts, the people that are actually building this technology, right?
Yeah.
Where are those data points?
And honestly, there were some interesting studies brought up, and there are a lot of points that, definitely I agree with. But his overall conclusion that he doesn't believe in the current state of VR, and it's kind of this dismissive nature of like, there's so many bright, smart people working on VR and AR right now, large companies, and I feel like the leaps and bounds we've made in the past 6 years since Oculus really came on the map. I mean, it's been astounding, right? And to think that, oh, this is where we're stopping. No, we're just starting, right? And it's like, man, and what I want to say too is like, look, like, there has been a lot of negative talk about VR, but it's like, if you look at the data, like I'm seeing, and you're seeing companies succeeding, like, I think that disproves a lot of this stuff. And, and research, and, it's always evolving, right? It's never set in stone. And so it's like, okay, well, new data points, how do you take this data point and extrapolate it against your previous data points, right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. And what's missing from a lot of that is, the scientific method, right? Like, you're supposed to be disproving your hypotheses, not pushing your own narrative. No, don't use it to push your narrative. You know what I get? I take away, I'm like, look, this is just sounding a lot like a flat earther. Like, I get that vibe. I get the flat earther vibe from a lot of these people.
Yeah, I don't want to be too quick to dismiss. I mean, again,
sure,
he's a serious academic, he has a PhD. I don't want to just feel he's some crazy person. But I feel like let's have a real dialogue with data, right? It's like, and I'm glad he presented data. It's like, hey, this is the research I have on hand. This is why I think these things, right? So I feel like that's why it was a little bit like, I mean, the fact that it went viral, the fact that he tried to like, back up his statement with research, like I felt like this was more credible argument than us. And I felt like that's why it was worth responding to in a little bit more of a in-depth way.
Well, I think I agree with you. I actually think what's important about that is specifically like people getting sick in VR, because people do still get sick in VR. That's a legitimate thing. It's not the large data points of like the early, dev kit days, 1 and 2 days. People say, I mean, I see people getting sick. I got to take this thing off. I can't spend more than, 10 minutes in here. Or actually, I still see people not wanting to put it on because they're afraid. There's something there, right? They're afraid to put it on. And I think it has a lot to do with, I grew up, like people my age, I'm in my 40s, I grew up with my mom telling me, don't sit so close to the TV, right? And now you want me to put this thing on my face, and and it's, there's the way the brain cognitively processes that and those experiences, like, there's some trepidation there. So what I think we do need research to make it better, especially with like empathetic VR experiences, or empathetic. Yeah.
But it's interesting too. Like, I mean, I sit sick in bad VR. Like, even in the for the Vive, right? Like the headset's nice. But if there's an experience with artificial locomotion, does all the bad design choices, it's totally vomit coming, and I feel terrible. But what's funny too is like, I mean, honestly, televisions have like still made people sick, right? Like if you flash the lights in certain order, like the whole Pokemon thing, even Incredibles 2 had to have the disclaimer, this might cause seizure and all this kind of stuff. And it's like people don't say, oh, TV is bad or film is bad. They're just like, oh wow, those content choices were terrible, those design choices were terrible. And feel like
that's right.
For the majority of people, they can have a comfortable experience, like if they aren't doing the artificial locomotion. And so I guess there's a difference between like understanding, okay, is VR generally making people sick? Is bad design choice? And I feel like the hardware now, if you're hitting, in the Vive and you're doing a non-artificial locomotion experience, very small percentage of the population still gets sick from that.
That's right. That's right. It'll be interesting to see how that changes, if at all, once the numbers get a little better, because, I mean, VR is still, well, if you're a tethered VR, like a Vive or a Rift or whatever, still pretty expensive.
Yep.
These 6 Degree of Freedom, but now we've got, standalone 6 off coming out, we've got 3 off already. The Quest, man.
Quest.
Oh, I'm so excited. Quest is going to be so amazing. I can actually
Yep.
work out in the Quest, and it'll look like I'm working out in the Quest, so that'll be cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. So, what HMDs are you excited coming out? Anything, MR, VR, AR?
I mean, hands down the Quest. Like that to me is the first true consumer VR device because it takes away all of the problems that we know exist with high-end VR, or what I call true VR now. Like I'm sick of calling high-end VR. Just call it true VR. I feel like the past 3 years have proven that 3.0 VR is a novelty and 6.0 VR is really what's necessary to make an engaging experience that people will open wallets for, spend more time in, feel comfortable in, and all these things.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Quest is definitely by far that inflection point. And I'm kind of disappointed there isn't a better Quest competitor. I mean, you could say the HTC Focus kind of there, but at the price point and that functionality, it's still a little iffy. I really hope that Sony steps up. I mean, PSVR has been the most successful consumer VR device right now. If they were saying, hey, we're going to make PlayStation VR portable, that was an all-in-one that let you play all of your PlayStation 4 games in the movie theater mode, but then let you do all your PSVR. And maybe they couldn't do it an all-in-one like the Quest, but maybe all-in-one like a Magic Leap where they had to print out box to a larger compute unit. I mean, that would be phenomenal, right? Like if I could play everything on the go, but still play VR. Like, yes, that would be amazing. And I haven't heard going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. But I feel like having a high-end Quest competitor would be amazing, and I don't see anyone stepping up there. And then, of course, on the AR side, I really do believe, HoloLens too. I didn't try it, but a lot of smart people I know have tried it, said wonderful things. And so, again, not a consumer device, really focus on the enterprise. But that's, I feel like, where it needs to be right now. But I think that they did a lot of right design choices to just trying to make a much better dev kit. And so hopefully it's the DK2 to DK1 moment for AR.
Yeah, for sure, man. Speaking of that, right, so are there any speaking of design choices, are there any applications coming out or any companies building something that you think is going to be really compelling in that specific HMD in like the Quest?
In the Quest?
Yeah.
I mean, what I think is great about Quest 2 is if you think about it, like the top VR games that are out there, the Quest will be able to support, right? And I think they've already announced most of them. Like, Super Hot. I guess Job Simulator is the one that hasn't really been announced. I don't think Beat Saber technically has been announced as well, but you feel like Beat Saber would be a no-brainer.
Natural.
But like Rec Room would be a no-brainer, but like, all of these great VR games that are super popular, it's like day one, it's already have amazing content. But
for sure,
I do feel like that there's an opportunity for much more. I mean, although I worry too, I mean, my one drawback with the Quest, and I totally understand the reasons for this, like, they needed to hit that $399 magical price point, but it's not powerful enough to be a general computing device, right? It's clearly a VR gaming device, which I totally understand. It makes a lot of sense, but I think that leaves the opportunity for someone to say, hey, no, make a $599 version that has more compute, that can run all these productivity apps, like, the VR art tools a lot of people are using, that I feel like that's going to be the more, another very important factor that needs to be worked upon. And the other thing, too, I would say, when we're talking about devices, it would be silly of me to mention, too, personal disclaimer, we are an investor in this company, but Vario. They are creating a headset that, is written a human eye solution. And I feel like that hits another very important milestone. And again, targeting the enterprise, not saying something consumers, but saying, the pushback that we heard, are a lot of people are like, okay, VR where it's at because of the resolution isn't going to be useful in some of these, enterprise use cases. Can we get something? And honestly, these people are like, we're price agnostic. Like, we just need the highest quality now. And Vario's like, okay, we can do that. And I don't know if you got to try it. It is amazing.
Yeah, Vario's pretty legit. They're awesome. If you haven't, everybody go check them out. Look them up online. You can Google Vario. Good stuff. So, like, speaking of price points, is that what you're thinking is a good consumer price point? Do you have any data to support that? Like, about $399 is pretty acceptable for a lot of people. Okay.
I look at it too as saying, okay, what has been the most successful consumer VR device to date? PlayStation VR. What's the all-in price for PlayStation VR, right? So the PlayStation VR with the camera and with the motion controls is about $350. I mean, depending on what sales they have going on. But you still need PlayStation, so that's another $300, right? So all in, you're like, okay, and it still has the wires, it has the cables, and their 6-dot controls are wonky and not perfect. But that sold 3 million, maybe even 4 million units by. So how can something coming in at about almost half the price with better functionality and supporting all the most popular games not succeed as well, right? Especially when it's portable. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's I totally agree with you. The PSVR has just had really amazing market traction. I think it's still a tethered device, but it does a lot more than just VR, right? You can do many other things with it. But I agree with you there. That price point's a really compelling price point for a lot of consumers, and it's something that's palatable for people, right? Like, I can spend my paycheck on this. It's not too expensive. But what about the applications themselves? Like, good content for consumers and enterprise or education. Like, have you noticed there's this type of price point or this type of subscription model seems to be gaining traction?
I mean, the two separate tracks you have to think about. Like, one is the consumer side, and then one is the enterprise side. On the consumer side, I think it's way too early to talk about subscription and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, I think we just have to focus on making good content people will pay for. When there's a flood of content, okay, that's you can start talking about, subscriptions and all these other things. But I think for now, I think that's just cart way before the horse. And then on the enterprise side too, like when we think about it, it's just like, okay, I mean, I think the first pass of looking at like why you adopt VR a lot of times is cost savings, and so you get a clear differentiation of saying, okay, well, it used to cost us X. Now with VR, we can get it for half the price, and that's not how you figure out the price from there, right? And just be like, okay. One dumb thing about this is like, take another analogy. It was like, hey, well, it made sense for schools to upgrade to iPods or iPads because textbooks were so expensive. It was just like, okay, if you buy one iPad and then get the cost of textbooks cheaper, overall you're doing net savings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfectly fair. Yeah, totally makes sense. Actually, I want to talk about speaking of price points, content, hardware developers, kind of where we are. I'd like to talk about the VR fund. I'm gonna lift up my head HMD real quick because I gotta grab a drink of my coffee. One sec.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I was talking with someone the other day, and I said, look, if you can develop some sort of method for drinking booze and coffee in VR, you'll get funded $20 million in your first pitch.
They have them already. Those camo packs, right, that hikers use, that little straw on the
great
side.
Idea. Great idea.
Use those.
I got 1 million of those things, man. Obviously, you're smarter than me. I'm going to fill one with booze and one with coffee, and I'll report back.
Okay.
I'll do a video. Man, I love that. Awesome. Thanks, buddy. High five on that. Outstanding. Nice. All right, cool. So tell us about the VR fund.
Yeah, so the VR fund, we've been doing, we're a $50 million fund based in Silicon Valley, but we travel all over the world. We have been investing early stage AR VR startups for over 3 years now. We've 30 investments. We've talked to over, I think, 5,000 companies in the space in the past 3 years. And one of the things that we realized too was, there wasn't enough information. People didn't know. And so what we want to do was try to take some of the information that we have and then share it with the whole industry. And so you pulled up our industry landscape. This is something we put out every year. I'm actually working on the new one right now. But to show off, okay, what's going on in the VR ecosystem. And these are companies that have either raised over $1 million, had $1 million in revenue, or have major strategic partnerships with us. And so this doesn't show everyone, but again, hitting those milestones are important because I figured these are the quote-unquote leaders of the industry. And what's interesting was, like, I've been doing this map since 2016, I think, and just to see it grow over time, right? But, like, you can find the old ones and, like, compare, and you're like, oh, interesting. It's just to see how the industry is growing. And especially what's fun was I tried to do the thing where, like, if a company gets acquired, I will try to put the logo of the acquirer where the old company used to be. So pay attention to the map.
Awesome.
Like, oh, Google's here now because they acquired this company. Interesting. Okay. So that's a little Easter egg for people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is cool. I love this. What I love about this is that I use this as a map. Awesome. It's definitely a map for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's getting so unwieldy now. I always joke that the next version I'll have to do will be in VR because it's just too much, right?
For sure, yeah. Some kind of interactive thing. Like, VR developers, take this image, go start working on that. And talk to Tipitat. Put it in VR. Come on. We got it. This is all 2D. This is like 1986 level stuff.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
We can do better. This is great.
Funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was going to ask you about that. No, go ahead, please. I was just going to ask you about some of the companies that you funded.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So tell us about some of the top companies that excite you right now that are in your fund.
Sure. So I mean, I already mentioned, gave props to the gaming companies. Those guys are killing it. I mean, we've already talked a lot about Beats, so I don't need to talk about them anymore. Against Gravity, though, if you guys haven't tried Against Gravity, Rec Room lately, it's really evolved. When it first came out, at first it was kind of like a MMO and like a Wii Sports kind of casual sporting, MMO in VR. But now they've really leaned hard on the UGC stuff. People are creating really inventive things. People are doing really fun things inside it. I don't know if you heard, but there was a theater group that threw Princess Bride play in Rec Room. And so people actually sat and watched a theater production live of Princess Bride, and they built their own props and sets in Rec Room. It was amazing. I actually didn't get to watch it happen. I watched the YouTube video after, but it's just like it was completely, well, they didn't charge for it, but it was completely like sold out. And you're like, this is amazing. Like, people are doing crazy, awesome things.
That is, oh my God, I love that. So first of all, every human being that's in our industry obviously binges on the Princess Bride, because why would you not? But any conference I ever been at, whenever it says like the little sticker, "Hello, my name is," always put Inigo Montoya. Always.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And I always have someone come up to me and say, "Are you looking for the six-fingered man?" Or, "Hey, I killed your father." It's so perfect. I love it.
Oh, hold on a second. I think someone rang my doorbell. I'll be right back.
No problem. Take your time. I'm going to take a little coffee break real quick. Where's my coffee? Here it is.
Dude, I love hearing and seeing the collaboration between art and technology like that. I think that's so cool. I think it's a great indicator of, that it's very much not dead. If you have art, the art sector starting to adopt the technology, I think that's not a good sign.
Absolutely, man. Totally agree. Hey, I saw you trying to sell or to share something. Was there an issue?
I couldn't see what was going on your end, but I pulled up the what was it? I'm gonna brain fart.
Yeah, I think there was a desktop share. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we're having a desktop share issue, so I'll fix that in the next. I'll have Albert update the version. All right, cool, man.
Gotcha.
Everything
Sorry
good to go? No, it's all good. No worries. Cool.
It was funny though. Like I totally walked over there, still like connected to the headset. And, like, I pulled my whole laptop. It's fine.
I've done that. That's what worries me. That's why I have not worked out in my Vive. Because I'm like, man, I'm gonna step on this cord. I'm gonna like give myself whiplash. Yeah, no thanks. So anyway, so you were talking about the companies,
But other companies, I think the Wave is doing amazing things as well. So they're virtual reality music concerts that it's like a social music experience. They actually just announced a huge partnership with one of the largest virtual YouTubers and virtual celebrities in Japan called Kizuna Ai, and are going to do an amazing concert in the next couple of weeks. But that looks phenomenal. But cool. Yeah, just, oh gosh, what else? I mean, that's kind of the, Mind Show is another one that I really, really like. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, I also do a lot of VR art on the side, and my past was as an animator and 3D artist. And this idea of using VR to democratize creativity, I think is really powerful. And what Mindshow is doing is letting people animate by really puppeting or like using VR as a very basic motion capture rig. And so now anyone can create animated stories. You're like, that's awesome.
That is awesome. Actually, so Eric and I were literally just talking about the marriage of technology and art when you were checking your mail. We were just talking about that. Yeah, so I actually recently interviewed a person, Hattie Briggs. She's UK's #1 singer-songwriter. Like I think 2017 undiscovered Artist of the Year in the UK. She's basically the next Norah Jones. She was the very first person that I interviewed in this podcast, and you know, I mean, honestly, like she was so amazing, such a great artist. And my interview skills, it was a soup sandwich. I tell you, it was bad, but she did amazing. But there's this girl that she worked with. I think her name was Kaylee Smith. I'm gonna check my phone real fast. But she's an artist in the UK, and she built a VR video, basically a music video, entirely in virtual reality using the Oculus Rift. Yeah, Kaylee Smith, K-A-Y-L-E-I-H.
Awesome. Did she use Tilt Brush or did she use Tilt Brush?
Dude, she used Tilt Brush, and I'm telling you, the art. You got to look her up, Kaylee Smith. Just look up Hattie Briggs. You'll see her VR music video. It's phenomenal. It's bananas. I mean, I can't even describe it, man. So anyway, she's going to be on the podcast.
Awesome.
I think next week. So yeah, very cool.
But yeah, that stuff is amazing. Okay, and then real quick, I just gotta give a shout out to some of the other companies in my portfolio. I'd feel really lame, but like on the enterprise side too, we have a bunch of companies that are doing really amazing things. So we mentioned Vario already. That headset is amazing. But then there's interesting companies too, like in the healthcare side, we have 2 companies, Proprio and then Giblib. Giblib just got an article in Forbes. They're kind of the Netflix for immersive surgical training video. Cool. But then what I think like Proprio, what they do is they do light field capture, like volumetric capture and display so that surgeons in the OR can actually better augment what they're seeing and have better outcomes because they can take the 3D scan data of the actual patient, apply it to the actual patient while they're doing the operation. It's just on a whole nother level. It's insane.
So I was looking them up. Their technology is so I'm really interested in digital light field technology, and what they're doing is pretty impressive. It's actually a very good use case for that specific, or it's a very good technology for that specific use case, right?
Yep.
But it applies to, like, I mean, shoot, man, your auto mechanic could use that on your car. You know, I mean, you can overlay anything, right? So yeah, it's very useful, and I think better, right? Like I saw something you were saying that's there's 80% less mistakes made by surgeons, something like that.
Yeah, when they were trained in VR. That wasn't necessarily in Proprio or in Giblib, but just in general training in VR. That was a study from Accenture, I believe.
Gotcha.
The other companies that I think are really interesting, definitely Torch 3D. I don't know if anyone's experimenting with mobile AR at all, but it's the coolest way to create and prototype mobile AR apps. You actually, it's WYSIWYG. You actually create the mobile AR app on the mobile device. And so it's a whole nother like level of productivity, unlocking creativity. That's really impressive. And then another one that's really good, Apprentice.io. What they're creating is tools for laboratory techs in the life sciences. And so laboratory technicians can wear these smart glasses, use the Apprentice app, and they not only do they get to understand, they pretty much take all of the documentation for complicated procedures and present the information contextually aware, but they also record all of the actions, because what's so important is you have to have accountability when you're working at this high level. And so to be able to document all the procedures is a very time inclusive or time suck of a task. And also and to be able to then, for compliance, say, okay, yeah, we did these procedures. If there was a mistake that happens, we can unwind exactly and figure out when and where and how. Like that stuff is very valuable. So
awesome.
I feel like, in our portfolio, that was just some. Again, there's some that we can't talk about because they're it's still in stealth, but I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to, who we've been able to support in the past 3 years, and look forward to supporting more companies.
Yeah, that's great, man. That is really impressive. I love how open you are and how honestly transparent you are with this stuff. I mean, we've been talking with you for 3 years, I don't know, a while. Like we just know you. We just know you, right? Like conferences and whatever, and just being in the industry. And I just wanted to say, like, I'm not blowing sunshine. I just want to say, like, thank you for being so open, transparent. Like, did you have a question? Just ring me up, call me. Let's talk about it. And it's interesting because you have a genuine passion. A lot of these small 2-3 person companies, they get frustrated because I talked to this institutional VC or I talked to this angel or whatever, and they just don't get it. And I'm just part of their business model, or there's a lot of that type of frustration. Whereas you get it, you're passionate about it, and it's your purpose, right? To help these companies succeed, to build employers, like the next generation of employers. I think that's so great, man. It's pretty rare, honestly.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I mean, I think part of this too, like when my partner Mark and I were building the fund, I mean, we both come from being entrepreneurs. So we wanted to be the VCs we wish, or like the best VCs that we encountered, and kind of emulate that model. But then also too, even in VC, you have this idea of missionary versus mercenary. Yeah, who's the true believer and who's just hired to maximize efficiency. And we feel like, we do believe in VR, and that's why our fund is focused on, spatial computing, artificial intelligence, all these technologies that make up what, VR, AR, AI. And, we, as the fund, we kind of take this responsibility very clearly to be, hey, we don't want to just try to profit off of this. We want to support the whole industry. And whether we've invested or not, I want to see everyone succeed, and I will try to help you guys the best way I can, with real advice, real talk, with, the concerns I have. Like, I always kind of throw myself in the entrepreneur's shoes and be like, okay, what are the things I would be freaked out about? And because that's how we think about it. It's like, okay, what do I think could be the things that would stop you from succeeding, and making sure that you guys are aware of it. Also, I feel like I'm very lucky to have this job where I have talked to so many entrepreneurs, so many, and they share so much great information. But again, so many people are so heads down, they don't get to see. And so I'm like, okay, I want to start spreading this information, sharing it, and making sure that, we all level up as an industry.
Right on, man. Level up as an industry. That's a super key phrase right there. Love that. Love that. Yeah, man. And I can tell you from someone who has been talking with Tipitat over the last few years, it's not BS, right? Like you live it, and he means that legitimately. It's a very sincere. He's very sincere in what he does. And I know that people. You have a good reputation in the industry, and that
thanks.
It's true. Like somebody once told me, it was my very first job. I had this old grizzly engineer, and I'd quit. Right, I got a different job, and he said, Matt, he goes, I got to tell you. So anyway, we went out for lunch, and I came back. We went out for lunch, and he said, Matt, I got to tell you, people are talking about your work, and they're saying good things. And he said, the true measure of a person is not what people say to you; it's what they say about you. And he was right. He was right, and that's what I hear, man. When I hear people use them, and I only know one person named Tipitat. So when I hear people talking Tipitat, it's always positive. So it's good stuff, man.
Oh, thanks, man. And again, I have the best job in the world. I'm lucky. You guys are the ones that are putting your necks on the line. It's really hard out there for entrepreneurs. I remember what it was like to be there. So I just want to be as helpful as I can to the people like you guys in the trenches, and appreciate what you guys are doing. And yeah, man, just keep it up.
Yeah, right on. We will for sure. I really appreciate you coming down and being on the podcast. Actually, you didn't go anywhere. You just threw on an HMD, which is awesome.
Yes. Super convenient.
Really good.
Like it.
So I love it. Yeah. So one thing we do is we ask our guests to leave with give us one thing to embrace and one thing to avoid. It could be anything. It could be an app. It can be food. It could be a person if you want to be like that. Whatever you want.
One thing to embrace and one thing to avoid. I would say at this time, I'm just saying, embrace the facts, embrace the data. VR has now existed in the public for over 3 years now, and there's so much learning to be had that we're no longer, like a year ago, I mean, honestly, we were all guessing. No one knew anything, right? Like, it was just so new and so fresh. And, now we have so much data, and we should start looking at that data and trying to feel like, okay, there are some clear successes and some clear failures, and what can we learn from that, right? So I feel like steer into the knowledge. The other thing, again, avoid these, debates and that are just spinning their wheels. I feel like there's so much time. There's even the positive echo chamber, and then there's the negative. Let's just stay out of both of those and just focus on finding the value, and focus on, especially for startups out there, just avoid the noise, focus on your customers, focus on your key metrics. You can succeed no matter what crazy expert says X about the industry, right? And hopefully this is the data that I wanted to show, where it's like, hey, you don't have to listen to me. Look at this data, okay?
Yes. Right. Yeah, I love that, man. That's so key. Focus on the data, avoid the noise. I love that. Okay. You've been great, brother, man. High five. Thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Really appreciate it. Oh, I'm a close talker now. Awesome.
I always enjoy chatting with you, man. And again, keep up the great work. And let me know how we can be more supportive. All right.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks, bud. All right, man. Have a good one. See you.